February 1st meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council will now come to order. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open podium is normally held prior to the start of each council meeting. It's an opportunity for Eden Prairie residents to address the City Council on issues related to Eden Prairie city government. Typically, these are held before our meetings on the first and third Tuesdays of each month from 6:30 to 6:55 in the council chamber. If you wish to speak at open podium, please contact the city manager's office at 949-8412 by noon of the meeting date with your name, phone number, and subject matter. If time permits, after scheduled speakers are finished, I will open the floor to unscheduled speakers. Open podium is not recorded or televised, and if you have any questions, please contact the city manager's office. Tonight we have a couple of presentations. The first presentation is from Decision Resources, who is going to present an overview of our most recent community survey results. Mr. Lothammer, do you have anything you wish to add?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Council members, tonight is our third presentation to you of the survey we call Quality of Life Survey. We did one in 2006, 2008, and 2010, so there is some good trend data that's starting to come together for us. And you had the opportunity at our workshop earlier to get into some of the details and finer points of the survey. Tonight, what representatives from Decision Resources will be sharing with us at the council meeting here is an overview of the results of some of those results from the survey. What you'll find is we'll be using this as we move forward with the budget process. It gives us some ideas of what people are looking for from our services, where some areas of improvement could be, and we'll also help you at the workshop that we have in a couple months. We'll help you go more in-depth, and this might provide some areas of topics that we might select for at the workshop to go a little more in-depth with those. So I will turn it over to Bill from Decision Resources.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. First, it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening to discuss the highlights of the survey. We spoke with 400 randomly selected households across the community in November, between November 8th and November 15th. The non-complete rate, or the refusal rate, was less than 3%. That is in comparison to the non-response rate of the U.S. Census of 10%. So once we had contacted people and found our target, they were more than willing to talk with us. In fact, the average amount of time it took for a resident to complete the survey was just under 30 minutes, with 2% of your residents being on the phone with us for over 2 hours. The results are projectable to have been plus or minus 5% in 95 out of 100 cases, projectable to an entire census of the community of residents over the age of 18. The demographics matched the updated census statistics on the city, so we feel we do have a good, true, and valid sample of the community. Let's begin first with a key benchmarking question, which is how would you rate the quality of life in the city of Eden Prairie? This year, 98% indicated either an excellent or a good rating, 1% indicated a more critical rating, and 1% was unsure. Now, how does this compare with earlier years? Well, 2 years ago, 63% had indicated an excellent rating. That dropped somewhat to 47% this year, much more on a par with what we found in 2006. At the same time, however, the good ratings, also a favorable rating, though not as strong, moved from 35 to 51. Is this unusual? No, it is not unusual across the metropolitan area suburbs. For whatever reason this year, residents have been far less generous in giving excellent ratings to city services or to any policy or anything as abstract as the quality of life. Now, where does this put the community, however? Well, in comparison with other suburbs across the metro, you're within the top 5 communities. That 47% is almost as high as the top one currently, which is 55%, and certainly dwarfs the norm on this, which is 33%. So Eden Prairie stands out in terms of being one of the communities that has a very high residential quality of life. Now, a new question to this survey was whether or not people were aware that the city had been designated the best place to live. What we found on this was that 91% were aware of that designation. That's an incredible amount of awareness among your residents. We would have expected to see on something like this perhaps 35 to maybe as high as 50% awareness. So most of your residents are aware of that. In fact, in the survey itself, many of the respondents were absolutely ebullient about it and thought that it really was a good characterization of the city. Now, let's move into city service ratings. We asked residents to rate various services provided by the city, and they could tell us the service was either excellent or good, or they could tell us it was only fair or poor. The blue part of the bar indicates the positive ratings. The red part of the bar, the negative ratings. And of course, what we're looking for here is an ocean of blue with a very, very small red tide. And that is exactly what happens. When we go through this, you can see that most of the time, if there is a negative rating, it's 1% or 2%. We have 2 ratings, though, 2 negative ratings, one at 5%, which stands out here because of the lack of negative ratings in general. And the 5% who said street lighting indicated they would like to see more street lights. And then we have 10% who rated the city drinking water as either only fair or poor. That one tended to be on the taste of the drinking water. But even so, with a 10% negative rating, we're still looking at 87% who see it positively. Now, one of the things that we do in comparing communities across the metropolitan area is we take a look at what percentage of people who have opinions actually rate the service highly. And what we found was that the average, the mean of the ratings for Eden Prairie was above 95%. In fact, it was closer to 96%. That's the highest average rating of any community in Metro. And it also is the highest that we've ever seen posted over the 20-some years that we have been working with metropolitan area suburban communities. Now, one thing we took a look at in a little bit more detail were streets and sidewalks. And what we found was that overall, when people think about city streets in general first, and neighborhood streets, their neighborhood streets in particular, they rate them very highly. 96% give a favorable rating to the condition of city streets overall. 96% also give a favorable rating to the condition of streets in their neighborhood. When we talk about sidewalks, though, things change a little bit. In looking at sidewalks across the community, 90% indicate a favorable rating, 9% are a little bit more critical. Neighborhood sidewalks, though, 72% give a favorable rating, while 18% are more critical. The 81, 84, and 80 good ratings, together with the excellent ratings of the first 3, are the highs across the metro area. City streets are not an issue in this community to the degree that we see it in other metro area communities. City sidewalks overall, the 90% rating is the high across metro. And when we're talking about comparisons here, we're talking about comparisons with 45 other suburban communities that we have pulled in over the past 3 years. Neighborhood sidewalks is at the norm, a little bit lower in terms of 72% rating it as excellent or good, but nevertheless not below what we find in most other areas. So this is high then for a metropolitan area suburb. Now, one thing that we take a look at in some detail is the value of city services. What we found this year is that your city services are rated the highest of any community in Metro. But does that translate over then into the value of city services? That is, do people feel they're getting a good value for the amount of property taxes they're paying? 82% said that yes, they're getting a favorable value, either excellent or good, while only 8% rated it as only fair or poor. That's a 10-to-1 favorable to unfavorable ratio, and it is one of the highs, if not the high, in the metro area currently. People are not only pleased with city services being provided, they're also pleased with the amount they're paying for those very good or excellent city services. In fact, this latter point is shown specifically in a question asking whether or not residents would favor or oppose a tax increase to maintain city services at their current levels. 2 years ago, we found that almost a majority opposed a tax increase. 49% opposed, while 32% were in favor. 2 years before that, the city split almost evenly, 41-39. This year, we've moved over into the support category, with 49% indicating that they would support a tax increase to maintain services, 36% opposed, and 15% unsure. That 49% is one of the top 2 favorable ratings that we have in Metro currently. In what has become a very hostile tax climate in most parts of the metropolitan area, you and one other community on the east are 2 oases. Now, do people feel that they can have input into planning and development decisions here? In most communities, the answer to that is no. However, here, 85% indicate that yes, they do feel they can have a meaningful input. Only 80%, or rather 8%, indicate they can't. That 85% is the high across Metro as well. So in terms of being heard then, residents here do feel empowered with respect to the decisions you're making on planning and development. Moving to park and recreation services. What we've noticed in the past is that the park and recreational system here in Eden Prairie is the jewel in the crown. It's always had very, very high ratings from residents. And we see the same thing today. When we asked about the opportunities being provided, 94% rate the city as either excellent or good. When we asked about the maintenance of those facilities, 95% rated that as excellent or good. That is the top rating for a park and recreation system across the metropolitan area today. And finally, let's take a look at the operation of the city for a moment. We asked residents first how they would rate city staff. Would they rate them excellent, good, only fair, or poor? Or maybe they don't have an opinion. Well, one thing that stood out to us was that only 6% were unsure. That is, you have a very, very high contact rate, or at least a very good buzz out in the community about city staff. Now, in terms of the ratings, 90% rated city staff as either excellent or good. Only 5% rated it only fair or poor. Because uncertainty varies so much, and the use of city staff varies so much depending on the suburban community, on this we take a look at the percent of favorable ratings, positive ratings, to negative ratings, the only fair and poor ratings. That's a 90 to 5, excuse me, that's a 90 to 5 ratio, or a 16-to-1 ratio, which puts the city among the top 3 city staff ratings in the metro area. And then finally, excuse me again, and then finally, we took a look at Eden Prairie City Hall contacts. We found first that 33% have contacted City Hall in the past couple of years. That's a little bit higher than the norm. The norm on contact is 28% metro-wide. We then asked, well, what kind of service did you get? 97% rated favorably the waiting time for a response. 95% rated favorably the ease of reaching help. 97% rated favorably the courtesy of the staff, and 94% rated the efficiency of the staff positively. In every case, the ratings were above 94%. Now, when we evaluate customer service in the public sector, the threshold that indicates high-quality customer service is 80%. You're almost 15% higher than that right across the board. So in general, then, what can we say about the community? The city has managed in many ways to create a reservoir of goodwill among its residents. And that reservoir is one of the largest that we've seen across Metro in some times. For example, when we asked residents what's the most serious issue or what thing do you dislike about the community, a full 24% told us there is nothing they dislike. Those are boosters. And that booster corps is 4 times as large as what we find in most other suburban communities. Do people feel that things are going in the right direction? Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why we found 49% willing to support a tax increase if necessary in order to maintain city services at their current level. Are they worried about anything? Well, yes, there are a couple of things that came up. One is the quality of lake water. Another is something well beyond the purview of the City Council and has to do with school boundaries. But by and large, when residents look at this city, when they look at the city government and the staff and the types of services that are being provided, they are very, very positive. To say that this is the best city in the country is corroborated very nicely by the survey results. Residents here are enthusiastic about the community. You have established a strong linkage of trust with your residents, and they are confident about how things will go in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I suppose we shouldn't take time now to ask questions since we've done that all downstairs. We had about an hour-long presentation from Mr. Morris prior to the start of the council meeting and heard far more about the results of the study than were presented here in this 10, 15-minute presentation. Thank you so much for doing the survey. I'm sure I, like all the council members and all the staff, really appreciated hearing all these positive comments about being the highest ranked in the metro area and many of the factors that we care so much about. And I think it's a real compliment to the many years of city council members who put time into this, the staff that has worked really hard, and also the willingness of our citizens to get engaged with civic government and to participate in a lot of the commissions and task forces that we have, and read our newsletters and read our blogs and read the website to find out more about the city. So it's a great city. We always knew that, and this kind of corroborated that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this time every year, we, like the nation, present a State of the City address, and Mr. Lotthammer, our interim city manager, prepared it this year. It's already been presented to the Chamber of Commerce, and has it been presented to staff, too?
It will start on Thursday morning at 7 a.m.
Okay,
with
all right.
staff.
Okay, so this is a preview of what they will hear.
It is,
Thank
correct,
you.
Your Honor. Your Honor, council members, it's hard for me to imagine that anyone could feel more lucky or privileged than to be standing over here in my shoes tonight. I get to live in Eden Prairie, I get to work in Eden Prairie, and I got to have the year to present this to you of 2010 and 2011, and that's pretty incredible. I want to thank you for selecting me to be the interim city manager in this time of kind of interims between Scott Neal, and I would like to mention that a lot of the results and a lot of what you're going to see tonight in this presentation, we owe a lot of that to Scott's leadership, and you can see that in some of the photos and some of the results. So on one hand, it's harder to feel more proud, but there's a little bit of sadness, I think, from all of us that the person that was very instrumental in getting us here is not here to share those results with us tonight. So I do that a little bit on his behalf, but as you'll see, there are many great things that have been accomplished by all of the people in the City of Eden Prairie organization. Just looking back at 2010, obviously, 2010 being named Money Magazine Best Place to Live in America is something that was a very outstanding accomplishment for us, and as you saw the results of the survey tonight, is something that it was corroborated with how people really feel about us. So we like to see those. You'll be able to see how we continue to spread the word about the Money Magazine as a great way to get people to believe in the city of Eden Prairie as a great place to come to live and come to work. One of the things you've heard of for quite some time, and you've seen the sticker around and the logo around the 2040-15 program, are efforts to save energy and make conservation very prominent. We are making great progress on that. We are 1/3 of the way to improving energy efficiency in our facilities by 20%. We're also halfway for improving our vehicle fleet fuel efficiency by 40%. And the good news is we've got 4 more years to reach it. So we're well on our way, and I'm happy to report this progress to you. One of the things that I think all of us know that makes Eden Prairie a very special place is the involvement of our community residents and citizens and what they do in their spare time to be able to make this a better place to live and play. I had the privilege on Saturday night of going before the Lions Club, and you as a council had proclaimed this past Saturday Lions Club Day in Eden Prairie. And they were very ecstatic to hear that. We had kept it as somewhat of a surprise to the overall organization, but this was their annual meeting where they had an opportunity to celebrate 50 years of great work in Eden Prairie. And to be there and to hear the accomplishments and the donations they've made back to the community was very impressive, and to see the camaraderie amongst so many people in Eden Prairie in one room was also just infectious and contagious. It made everybody there want to run out and do more, and it's quite the group of people that we have in our community. And also, I think, call out the athletic associations. Many groups, but they really serve a lot of our youth. Over 13,000 were served this past year by 16 different athletic associations, people taking their time and their talents and making this a better place. Continuing with our community partnerships, you've seen some agreements that have been signed in the past couple years with the Eden Prairie Historical Society and some events that they've taken on and really bolstered in the last couple of years. And that, I think, also has honored the history of our community and made this a better place to live in, to recreate. Eden Prairie Foundation, we're making some more history, 30 years of giving. We as a city have been direct recipients of some of the contributions from the Eden Prairie Foundation, and we look forward to 30 more years of working together with them. We also, in the past several years, have been very fortunate as a community to be the recipients of private giving. When you think back to all of the efforts privately with the community center, when you think back to the Art Center donation, many private gifts have come in to help increase the quality of life in Eden Prairie. Most recently, the Outdoor Center Observatory. In order to house the donated telescope, we received over $135,000 in private donations to build the observatory building. That, just like the Art Center, just like the Community Center, has opened up to droves and lines of people, and it's been very well received. So we're excited to see how people have given of their time and given of their finances, and then they themselves, I think, have been well rewarded and have felt very good about what they've entrusted to the city and the city council to make their dreams also come true and be utilized. The citywide open house, an annual event. This was very well attended this year, a very nice day. I remember talking with Councilmember Butcher Wickstrom in the middle of the parking lot on a nice sunny day and surrounded by people, kids climbing onto mowers, into plow trucks, police and fire demonstrations. It was a great day to bring the community together and really get a first-hand view of what we as city staff provide for the residents. Our Eden Prairie liquor store, we did have a remodel and a re-grand opening, the one located at Rainbow Foods, and we have seen and heard things from customers about how they appreciate the step up in the quality of the services, but also the layout and the design of that liquor store. So good feedback coming on that as well. The Eden Prairie Night to Unite, great opportunity for people to fill those cul-de-sacs. And I know my personal cul-de-sac was full with ice cream and ice cream toppings, so couldn't be a better night for me. Lots of chocolate. But you as council members and some of our city staff also were out visiting many of those block parties. And this year we had over 114 registered block parties, which we know that not everybody registers their block party, so many more than that 114, but even that's a good turnout. We have seen, and 2010 was no different, we have seen very flat and slight reduced spending over the years. And I think we're all glad to see the survey results that came to us earlier tonight that still show good satisfaction and people recognize the value of the services that we're giving. For the most part, this looks like a graph that will carry forward in a flat scenario for the next few years. And so our challenge as city staff is similar to what we've been able to accomplish, we believe, over the last few years, is to continue that good quality of service, but without increases. One of the things that I think Mr. Morris pointed out is we're a little bit of an oasis here in Eden Prairie. And in most cases, and if not all cases, we're very fortunate that that's the case. And if you look here in Eden Prairie, our unemployment rate, thankfully, was quite a bit less than what the rest of the county was, the rest of the state, and then the rest of the nation was. And so that feels good to us, and it also helps for our residents to be able to enjoy the good quality of life that they have. In times when we were kind of hearing on a national and statewide basis that not much is happening out there, we've been fortunate to have at least a little bit going on. A couple weeks ago, Councilmember Aho, Mayor Lukens, myself, Janet Jeremiah, Dave Lindahl, and a couple other staff members had the opportunity to go over to Walmart and take the tour with their manager of the store. And it was very impressive on their remodeling efforts that they've undertaken. And it was interesting to hear some of the concepts that they use to help give the shopper a better experience. One of the things that really stood out to me, though, was their commitment to wanting to get more involved in the community. And we continue to hear that from many business owners, that they're not just here to sell their wares, but they want to be greatly involved and be a part of what we here in Eden Prairie have going on. So I think our infectious spirit is catching on, and we hope to be able to work with them in a partnership, maybe somewhat similar than as we did last year with Home Depot and some of the partnerships we had with them. Traffic, always good news when we can tell you that traffic is getting better and improvements are heading along. We have this past year, as Mr. Dietz says, we're almost done except for the greenies and growies, which means trees and shrubs have not been put in engineer speak. But Flying Cloud Drive is underway and has been opened. Also, the new pedestrian facilities and streetscape enhancements along the single tree. Pioneer Trail for those commuting from east to west. It's been a tough couple years, but I think the people that are now using Pioneer Trail and the multiple lanes that are in place is greatly helping with the traffic to commute from east to west or west to east. Also along the Flying Cloud Drive trail, quite a bit of work was done. We did use federal stimulus money to help with that, as well as some county funds. So it was a great mixture and a great partnership for that project. That really helps people get in and around that mall area. And I'm always surprised as I drive down Flying Cloud how many people in the warmer times that I would see using that, both biking, running, and walking. I take these two charts to show you because I think it's very indicative across the board in our service areas and very representative of our service areas. One of the things that we've seen in park facilities and also in a lot of our recreation programs is really an uptick in demand. And when you think about it, you've also read some things in the paper where people, due to the economy, are staying a little closer to home or they're looking for a little better value. We are seeing more wedding receptions, more family reunions, more birthday parties coming to our facilities, which tend to be of a little lesser value than the large banquet hall where you have to have a large caterer. And we've seen our increase in facility rental really skyrocket in the last couple of years. So we're really glad to be able to provide that opportunity and have people think about our facilities as quality enough to host that special day event. We're also seeing that in some of our summer youth programs, where instead of going away to Wisconsin for the week-long camp, they're staying at home with us and doing something more affordable, but with the same type of quality, just not the sleepover experience maybe. What I point out with the false alarm piece, that was all communication driven. All communication and education basically is what we would attribute that result to. And that, what it shows you is that we receive alarm calls and we respond to them. And over the years, we've been able to reduce the ones that we respond to that aren't true and real emergencies. And so when we don't have to mobilize people, mobilize equipment, we don't do it, and that's a great thing, but it really relies on the user being educated. And I think what you saw tonight in the city survey as well, and it'll show in another couple slides too, is our communication efforts have been very successful. I think our communication staff deserves a great pat on the back, as well as the rest of the staff's willingness to get out and do that extra bit of trying to say, how can we get even better? And I think this really is an indicator of that and shows that we can conserve resources, and sometimes it just takes education and marketing efforts. And so great job to the fire department, but also to the communication staff for this. Here it is. We talked a little bit about in the community survey the new methods for media and marketing. Our Facebook page, which was well represented in the city survey. Also here, we currently have 2,300 followers and growing by the day. So if you haven't yet done so, or if people at home haven't done so, become a fan or a follower of ours on Facebook. You'll be able to see a lot of city information and a lot of promotional information through the Facebook page. We also, if you have specific interests, you can go to our website and you can check on any one or all 80 boxes. And as we have specific information in that area, we'll send you an email. And we do it fairly judiciously because we don't want to overload people, but we also do it in a way that gets our information out to people in a medium that they would like to see it in. The city blogs, as Mr. Neal made popular several years ago, have continued to be a way to communicate with people, embraced by many of our other staff as being a way to get some more information out here from City Hall in a way that makes it feel like it's more personalized and sometimes gives you a good look inside of City Hall and how people go about their business. Here it is, the survey says, and we've gotten a lot of information about that last night, and this is the slide that I shared with the chamber meeting that we knew a little bit about in advance, but the what do people like about living in Eden Prairie, and those are all great things that we've heard on a regular basis, whether it's through the past surveys or just as you go door to door or hear from constituents. But also, what do you like least about living in Eden Prairie? And 24% said nothing. Across the metro area or in Hennepin County, that is 5%. So that's amazing, and it's a good feeling to be working for an organization where the results are of this quality. We as a city staff are involved in a program called Way to Go. And this is our way of engaging all of our employees in healthy lifestyles and healthy habits of giving good education. And we know from studies in organizations that this is helpful for productivity. It's also helpful for people feeling good about themselves. And it's helpful in the long run for lowering our health costs as best as we can as an organization. But what we're having a little fun with is we're in competition with Three Rivers Park District and the City of St. Louis Park. And this is truly a competitive staff, and we are in the lead at the halfway point. And we have no intention of giving up the lead. And so hopefully next year when this is presented to you, that person will be able to tell you that we were successful, we made it again to number one. It's not a strange concept for us to come in number one, and we'll prove it in this area. As I mentioned before, we had a change in leadership. And as Mr. Neal moved on, we quickly entered a budget process. We quickly entered a new council coming on, and you quickly entered going out looking for a new city manager. And so a lot has happened in between that time, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of the department heads that I've had a chance to work even closer with for their efforts and all of their support in helping bring on new council members and helping bring to you a budget that you felt comfortable with moving forward. And I can only tell you that the survey results that you saw about the quality of the city staff from somebody spending time internally with those people, they are dead on. These are the finest people that I have ever been able to work with, and I'm glad that it shows in what our community thinks and believes of us as a staff. Mr. Neal whiffed on that pitch, by the way. So 2011, when we look back at 2010, how can you not be excited about more to come in 2011? There is your picture, soon to be hanging up outside of the wall. We've got the current council photographed and ready to engage the residents. As we noted earlier, you are in the process of looking for the next city manager for the city of Eden Prairie, and that is coming along fairly fast. New development. Again, when you hear about what's been happening in the development community and in the development world, it's pretty neat to be able to drive down and as you go by Windsor Plaza to look to the left and see Bobby and Steve's Auto World, and that's really, really taking shape if you've been by there lately. And then as you keep heading kind of north and west, you look to the right and you see Smashburger and Verizon and Sport Clips. That's not something that's happening everywhere, and I think people are recognizing that this is a great place to do business and a great place to live, and some of this development, I believe, is evidence of that. Menards, pretty neat project to see from the ground up. It reminded me a little bit of the community center when I remember one of the first days that I got here that I walked over or drove over there and it was complete dust in the parking lot. And so from start to finish, got to watch those tip-up concrete and be a part of that. But same thing at Menards, and very fast pace as well. We saw that demoed for a while. You saw the dirt only, and now it's really taken shape and is getting ready to open. You can, in the dark, drive by and see in and see all the work that they're doing. So pretty neat to see that, people reinvesting in the community as well. Back on to the traffic and the help with flow-through in Eden Prairie, especially along that 169 and 494. We have some people in our engineering department that are dedicating a lot of time to this project. If you pull up Rod Rue's Outlook calendar, it's pretty tough to find a spot that isn't taken up by this project. And so it's exciting that not long from now, the shovels are truly going to be in the ground and the dozers will be moving along. So very exciting project for us. Also, the Southwest LRT, which you as a council have had an opportunity to really shape. And as this process continues to heat up, you will continue to have a role in the process of shaping this project the entire way along. We had the privilege the other day of meeting with some of the Metro Transit and Met Council staff to get to know each other, because not long from now, many of our staff are going to be sitting across the table or elbow to elbow with them on almost a daily basis as this project really gets going. So it's been exciting to see it get started, but plenty more to come. We will dedicate a lot of staff time to this over the next couple of years. Some more new tenants, and these are in our city buildings that we own. Complete Nutrition is going in. Also in the Kinder Care building across from Windsor Plaza and Bobby and Steve's, we've got a new daycare tenant in that location. And in terms of improving facilities, this spring will be the opening of our third phase of Miller Park. And you've seen the phases come along over the past few years. You've seen the donations come in from the families that are really embracing the barrier-free concept. And part of the third phase is this new spray park portion of the park. And you can see a couple of the nozzles there that will spray down water, and kids will be able to walk through and get wet and just have a really good time using the park, especially on warm days, so that's pretty exciting. We've been spending a lot of time over the years, and as you that have been here for many years know, the negotiations with MAC began back in the early 2000s, and one of the items was to expand the ball fields at Flying Cloud Field. this is our schematic that we will soon go out to bid for, and we intend to begin the project this spring, and by 2013 have kids playing soccer, lacrosse, baseball on those fields. So we're excited to see that project get going. That's a project that in our bond referendum was money was earmarked and voted on by the residents to improve this facility. So that'll be something that people have been waiting for, and we'll be glad to get them playing and enjoying the facility. 2011, it's a 2-year distinction as the #1 city, so we'll carry that proudly and hopefully maintain that for many, many years to come. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you tonight and to represent our city staff, to represent you as a city council at the chamber meeting, as well as over the next 2 weeks. I'll give this about 4 or 5 more times to our city staff. We'll give it early in the morning. There will be a 10 o'clock if you want to see it again, at 10 p.m. with some of our police staff so we can catch everybody. And I think everybody will be big smiles. When we sat down there tonight and heard some of the results of the city survey, and as we're excited to share that with the rest of our staff, I think there'll be a lot of high fives going on around City Hall. And so we as staff, thank you for your support, and we look forward to working with you for another great 2011 and many years to come, too. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lodhammer, for that synopsis of 2010 and the preview of 2011. And thank you also for your willingness to serve as our interim city manager and prepare this report. I suppose it's not something you'd really planned on until all of a sudden it happened. So thank you. Great job. We're also wondering if the little figure in the Way to Go program, is that your head on the body?
It's my head. It is absolutely not my body.
Okay. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Items to add. I have a couple of things to add under council member reports, and it's been brought to my attention. Yes, Mr. Rosso.
I'm requesting a closed session to discuss the litigation of Eden Prairie versus Black and Veatch and other entities regarding the water plant roof matter. So I need a closed session. We may very well come back out of closed session depending upon the results of our discussion.
Okay. Regardless of if the results don't require us to come back for a vote, do we need to still come back and close?
We'll come
the
back
council
and
meeting?
close, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else? All in favor of the agenda as amended? Aye. The motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting held Tuesday, January 18th?
Move approval.
Second.
Any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes. A motion for approval of the minutes from the city council. Did I say meeting before, or did I say workshop?
I think you said meeting.
I think I did too. Okay, so we'll reverse it. The city council workshop held that same evening, Tuesday, January 18th.
Move approval. Second.
Any items to correct there? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. The motion passes. Next, we have a report from the chair of our Heritage Preservation Commission, Ann Higgins. And if you would, if you prefer to do it from there?
I think so.
Okay,
If that's
all right.
If that's all right.
Go. If you would
I can.
introduce yourself and let us know about what is going on with the Heritage Preservation Commission.
Yes, I would be most happy to do that, and very grateful that you've taken the time to have us come in this evening.
Oh. Yeah, you might pull the microphone over closer.
Closer
Yeah,
to
it
me.
depends,
Is
yeah.
this better?
Yeah.
Okay. The Heritage Preservation Commission is giving you an annual report this evening, and the first things that I wanted to point out to you is the vision that we have for our work with the community. As an energetic community with effective land use and within the locally recognized heritage sites, we are working to respectfully preserve them, not only for future generations, but for current people who live here in Eden Prairie. Our mission statement is that we are city stewards of our enduring and recognized preservation policies, and the programs and strategies focus not only on preservation, but also on education, public use, and enjoyment of those sites.
In 2010, last year, the major areas that we were focused on were the revision and really almost an entirely new preservation ordinance, bringing it really up to speed and up to the modern interpretation of preservation, both at the national level and throughout Minnesota. And the City Council did approve that revised ordinance during 2010. We also approved several certificates of appropriateness, which were for various improvements to local heritage sites. At the Riley Jakes House, we made arrangements with the staff to make some adjustments to the parking area to make it easier for anyone who might be living there, and we don't have anyone now, but for the future, to make it easier for them to move their cars into that area near the house without damaging the site in any regard. We also took a lot of time, and we're very grateful for all the help we got from various city departments in looking through and finally approving a landscape restoration plan for the Cummins House, which will come into its initial work once spring is here. I hope soon. The sewer and water utility extension into the house has already begun, and we approved that certificate of appropriateness at the time that the Historical Society approached us about that. The staff and the HBC, and I should say about staff, we have an unusual arrangement in which John Gertz is a consultant to the HBC, as well as Scott Kipp from the Planning Department, and their skills and their ability to call on other staff has been extremely helpful to us. We completed assessments of city-owned historic buildings during the year, and also some of the sites to identify and prioritize maintenance activities. That became actually fairly important when it was discovered that there were some significant problems at the Douglas Moore House with some of the roof conditions, but we have addressed that before winter, which was our main interest in trying to look at that. But we had a lot of cooperation from city staff in making that possible. I also attended the 2010 Minnesota Preservation Conference in Winona. That's something that, as a certified local government, we're obligated to send at least one person. Sometimes we've had two. I was lucky enough to have some time to be able to go. Winona is a wonderful place to see a lot of preservation, but also a lot of very vital activity around that preservation activity as well. The HBC also approved or reviewed and commented on a lease agreement between the city and, as you heard earlier from Mr. Lothammer, the Eden Prairie Historical Society for use of the John R. Cummins House. And we are, actually, I should also point out, we are establishing, or have been established, in a new relationship with the Historical Society, in which one of the members of the board regularly attends our meetings, and we find that is an easier and more productive and efficient way to try to keep in good communication about things that are happening in their area of responsibility, and also at the Cummins site. Our consultant and city staff also completed some field inspections of rehabilitation work at the Glen Lake Children's Camp. That's been a very important project, and one that involves a great deal of detail. Staff reviewed miscellaneous projects such as demolition permits, proposed cell tower locations, and have had some communication about the Southwest Transitway Corridor, although as yet there hasn't been any site, property, or other historic elements that have been identified, but should there be, we are in a position to begin discussions about what needs to be attended to. We are also, or did last year, evaluate the log house, the Dornkemper House out at Riley Park, and are looking at its local designation as a local historic site. And fortunately, this past year, we did not lose any sites or any destruction. We had a very close call at the Cummins Grill House, as you remember, in 2009. So our 2011 work plan involves monitoring that landscape restoration that will get underway once we have warm weather, completing the best management practices guidelines for the homestead there at that site, and continuing to assess significant city-owned historic sites, because they are constantly in use, and there are things that we need to be careful to pay close attention to. And we'll also, as I said a few minutes ago, participate in the Transitway Corridor if we should find that that is an important part of our responsibility during the year. We don't know anything at this point that suggests that's going to be the case, but we do understand our role there. And we will also continue our education initiatives and make sure that we continue to attend that statewide preservation conference. We have several new members on the commission who are very eager and active, and I'm hoping that perhaps one or both of those new members this year can go. We will also continue to assist the Historical Society in the restoration work at the John R. Cummins homestead. We had a long discussion about some of the activities underway there now with Jan Mossman just last night. We had a special meeting because we had to postpone them, or cancel the meeting, the regular meeting, and had it last night, so we had that chance to do it just now. We also have prepared, we will be preparing, rather, some documentation to present to the council on the Dornkemper Log House, and possibly also the Starring Lake Outdoor Center. We had our first discussion about that last night, but I have to say, after listening to some of the discussion that John Gertz presented to us, I think that's something we really do need to make an effort to try to move forward with it in 2011. And then we will also complete our annual report to the State Historical Preservation Office, as we are required as a certified local government. Finally, we're going to look for opportunities to expand the use of the website. You talked about that in your remarks tonight. We have not done as much with that, and we are hoping to, for instance, make better use of it for the Heritage Preservation Commission resources themselves, so we do not have to have everything on paper, and can look back and get the information we need online. So John Gertz and Scott Kipp are working on that project. In addition, our student member on the commission has made an offer, and I'm going to be exploring it with the communications department. There is a computer class, or maybe several, at the high school, and the teacher and students in that high school would like to be of help, if possible, to try to improve and make more lively the link to the Heritage Preservation Commission work through that site. So thank you very much for your time, and very glad to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Anna. Especially thank you for your display of the work plan. You have an opportunity now, when you're on mic and on TV, to maybe make a plug for new commission members for your commission. And are you looking for any specific skills or talents for your commission?
Yes, the commission, as you know, has 3 members whose terms expire this year. I know that 2 of them are applying to serve again, but one may not, and so that may be an open position. And in terms of skills, I think anyone who has children and would like to find ways to take advantage of the fact that we have so many sites that are accessible and could be used for various activities, I think that would be wonderful. When I came on the commission, we did have someone with a young family, but she had to not run again because of her obligations to her family, and I think that would be fabulous. I also think somebody who has some knowledge of the relationship between some of our sites and the land use that used to be a part of Eden Prairie, whether it's an agricultural background or just understanding more about land use, would be wonderful. I also think it would be somebody who could be a miracle worker of a sort, because last night we also talked about the overlook that once was part of the heritage sites that we had in Eden Prairie, and we had a lot of discussion from some of the new members who wondered why we can't get there from here anymore. And I understand the issues somewhat about the airport, but if anyone from the Airport Commission would like to come over out to the HPC, we would probably love that opportunity to talk about that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Ann? Okay, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Consent calendar. There's 3 items on the consent calendar. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval?
Second.
Any items to question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Payment of claims. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Aho.
Aye.
Councilmember Butcher Wickstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember Case.
Aye.
Mayor Tara Lukens.
Aye. That brings us to reports, and the first item is reports of council members, and I just had 2 things to bring up. One is I received a letter, and council, you may have received a copy also in your packet, from Mike Hopat, the chair of the Hennepin County Board of Commissioners, thanking us for freeing up Kitty Porta, our city clerk, to go off and help with the recount for Hennepin County on the recent gubernatorial recount. And it was a big logistical challenge. They had to do hand counting of over 470,000 ballots in a short period of time. And I didn't realize it. I thought maybe the clerks from every city around the metro area had been invited to be a part of this recount. But no, Kitty was one of 11 local officials that came out to help with that. So she's going to be recognized on, well, she was recognized last week, January 25th, by Hennepin County. So I just wanted to mention that and thank her. And then secondly, I wanted to mention, last meeting I talked about the Eden Prairie Foundation Ball, and can't remember what the other event was that was coming up. But I didn't have the pardon me?
Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, yeah, for the Taste of Eden Prairie event at that time. And I wanted to just give a little plug for that. The Taste of Eden Prairie is a benefit for the Eden Prairie Schools Foundation. The theme this year is Wild West. It's a really fun event. They have it at Winter Park, the Vikings facility, from 6 to 10 p.m. on Saturday, February 26th. Tickets can be purchased at Kowalski's, Eden Prairie Schools, Jerry's Food, and online at the Foundation's website. They're $30 in advance or $35 at the door. And they have a band, and they have food from a lot of local restaurants that you get to eat for free, and they also have a silent auction. Locker room tours, other activities, a raffle, all kinds of things. And that, again, is a benefit for the Eden Prairie School Foundation. They are also doing, as part of that, a food drive for props. So if you want to bring food to put in a box there to be taken to prop, you can do that. All right. Mr. Lothammer, report of the city manager.
Your Honor, council members, this item is on the Budget Advisory Commission work plan, which, going back to January 18th at your work session, we did have a good discussion. We took some feedback, and myself and Ms. Kochever, along with some input from the other department directors, came back and tried to come up with an idea. It really looks very similar to what we had presented previously. We feel strongly that one way that can be very meaningful for the Budget Advisory Commission, but also for city staff and council, is to get a look at the capital improvement program and other methods and some creativity for funding methods for that particular program. It's our basic infrastructure protection program, if you categorize it as that. And we really think that looking at, and when you look back to some conversations that the council's had over the past few years during difficult times of funding, when we looked at, do we reduce the taxes and how much of that gets reduced going to the capital improvement program, and we've shown you over time that that fund doesn't last forever with our current methods of funding. We think it would be very beneficial for all 3 of the groups, the council, the staff, and the Budget Advisory Commission, to gain some more knowledge and to have some more tools to look at in how can we make that program a viable program long into the future in order to protect that infrastructure. The way we would propose doing that would be to bring in an outside consultant that is an expert in those areas to meet with the Budget Advisory Commission and the council at a special meeting, so that we would be sharing the information all at the same time. We would propose doing that within the next couple months. Then we would propose that the Budget Advisory Commission is going off on their own to look at those recommendations from the positives and negatives, not to make that policy decision that maybe has been made in the past, but to come back and give you as a council, who will ultimately make the final decisions, some of the advantages and disadvantages of using those methods and strategies. And having conversations with the BAC chair and some of their members, that is something that they are more than willing to do, would be excited to do. It still gives you, as you think about what is the council's role and what is the timeline for the council over the next several months, it really gives you that purview and focus on the operating budget, which, as we know, needs to be looked at in the next several months if one of our goals is to speed up the time frame or to have the time frame earlier in the year where you actually discuss and have the budget presented to you, which I think is something that we've heard from the council. But as those two things then come together as we get into that June, July time frame, as you've been looking at the operating budget and the commission is giving you recommendations back about methods for the CIP, they would be at a place in their work plan as if you've come up with some other thoughts and ideas that you would like them to look deeper into, they would have other parts of the year, the rest of the year, to be able to spend time doing that. So I think it gives you that flexibility to know that you have them as a resource as you move along as a new council together, looking at a new budget in a new time frame. And then it also gives them some very challenging and meaningful work here over the next few months to come up with some good recommendations for you as a council. One of the things that we had looked at doing right away, it's a commission that hasn't yet met. It's a commission that three new members are on the commission that haven't met the rest of the commission. Ms. Kochever and I have had the opportunity to do an orientation with those three, but we believe that it's really time for them to come together as a commission, at least to meet each other and know what their direction is. So if we do have concurrence with the council tonight, part of our plan is on Thursday night, their scheduled meeting, is we would meet with them for several things. We would meet with them so that they would get to know each other as a group, understand that we're going to move forward as a commission, as a budget advisory commission. Also, we would want to share some of the information that you heard tonight with them, the city survey, also the state of the city, so that some of them is new to the fairly new to the community, definitely several of them new to city commissions, get a better idea and a better base and background so that they can, make their comments and their recommendations even more helpful and meaningful to you. So we think even this next meeting coming up for them without, very strong direction is still valuable to have with them. If you do concur on what we're suggesting as a work plan for them tonight, we would then walk them through that work plan, and they would then come back and they would have a meeting jointly with the city council and also a consultant that we would bring in to get very specific on funding methodologies. So if you have direction, comments, I'd be happy to take that, and we'll go in the direction that the council feels most comfortable and where you think is best for us to head.
Any questions of Mr. Lothammer? Okay, we kind of went through this at our workshop 2 weeks ago, so I think we got most of our questions answered there, and it was just a matter of wordsmithing some of the motion to get it to this point. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Is there a motion?
I would move to direct staff to work with Budget Advisory Commission to implement a work plan that initially focuses on the funding methods for the capital improvement program. Staff shall also schedule a joint meeting between the City Council and the BAC in April 2011 and ensure all information that is shared with the BAC will also be shared with the City Council, and direct the BAC to give advantages and disadvantages as the framework of their recommendations, and provide the City Council with the opportunity to redefine the work plan and redirect the BAC throughout the year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, and now we will be moving to closed session.
That's correct.
Are we going to do it in here?
It's your pleasure. We can do it back there.
Yeah, I think so too, because then we can just quickly go out there. Okay, we'll be adjourning into closed session, and we'll be coming back when that meeting is over to adjourn this meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.